Have you ever felt like you're slowly fading? Like the world is moving on and you're becoming a quiet observer in your own life? Perhaps you're still here, still breathing, still contributing, but a chilling whisper asks, "Am I becoming a ghost?" This isn't about grand drama, but the quiet, profound ache of feeling unseen, unheard, unneeded. It's the hum of an empty room, the silence of an unanswered call, the subtle shift in how others perceive you. This is Arthur's story, and perhaps in some way, it's yours too. The quiet hum of the refrigerator had become the loudest sound in Arthur's apartment. For most of his life, Arthur had been a man of meticulous order, a quiet architect of systems. He wasn't the kind of person who sought the spotlight, but his presence was a steady, reliable force. For 40 years, he'd been the indispensable senior archivist at the city's historical society, a guardian of forgotten stories, meticulously cataloging every faded photograph, every brittle letter, every whispered secret from generations past. He knew the city's history better than anyone, could trace the lineage of its founding families, and pinpoint the exact date a forgotten bridge was built. His office, filled with the scent of old paper and quiet reverence, was his sanctuary, a place where he felt utterly essential. He was the quiet expert, the one whose phone rang when a historian needed a specific detail or a journalist sought context for a breaking story. His mind was a vast, intricate web of connections, a living database of human experience. After his retirement 2 years ago, he hadn't exactly slowed down. He'd simply shifted his focus. He volunteered at the local library, organizing their digital archives, a project he'd approached with the same quiet dedication. His evenings were spent poring over historical texts, his mind a vast library of facts and forgotten narratives. He wasn't a hero in the dramatic sense, but a good, solid man, the kind of person whose quiet contributions built the foundations others stood upon, a silent pillar of knowledge. He always had a precise answer, a fascinating anecdote, and an uncanny ability to make you feel like the history he shared was a living, breathing thing. His days were full, his calendar marked with research appointments, quiet lunches with fellow history buffs, and demanding volunteer shifts. He felt useful, connected, seen, a vital thread in the intricate tapestry of shared human experience. He was a man who understood the value of every story, every life, every forgotten detail. He believed that every person, no matter how small their footprint, left an indelible mark on the grand narrative of existence. Then, slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, like the gradual fading of an old photograph, things began to shift. It wasn't a sudden storm, but a persistent drizzle that eroded the edges of his world. His hands, once steady enough to handle the most delicate parchment, now trembled slightly, making it harder to type, a frustrating daily reminder. He'd find himself staring at the keyboard, his fingers hovering, a silent battle against the tremor. Even his beloved magnifying glass, once a tool of discovery, now seemed to highlight the limitations of his aging eyes, making the fine print swim on the page, turning his cherished historical documents into blurry landscapes. His memory, once a steel trap for dates and names, now occasionally faltered, leaving him grasping for a word, a fact, a familiar face. He'd start a sentence, confident in his knowledge, only for the crucial detail to vanish, leaving him with a hollow silence. Each lapse was a quiet jolt, a battle fought within his own mind, a tiny crack in the edifice of his self-perception. His wife Eleanor had passed 5 years prior, and the circle of friends they'd shared had thinned, some moving to assisted living, others simply fading from his life, their names appearing less and less in his phone's call history, replaced by a growing silence. The once vibrant group that met for weekly discussions on local history now consisted of Arthur and an empty chair. The library, which had once felt like an extension of his purpose, a place where his expertise was sought, began to feel different too. New younger staff members, fresh out of university, filled the roles, their energy vibrant and their ideas focused on AI and algorithms. They spoke a different language, a rapid-fire dialect of data and metrics that left Arthur feeling like an ancient artifact himself. The digital archive project he'd poured his heart into for years was now being optimized by a dynamic young woman with a coding background and a flurry of new digital-first initiatives. She was brilliant, no doubt, but her efficiency felt like a bulldozer to Arthur's meticulous, almost reverent approach. Arthur found himself sitting in meetings, offering insights born of decades of experience, of knowing the subtle biases in old records, the hidden meanings in forgotten marginalia. He'd offer a historical context, a nuanced understanding, a warning about overlooking the human element in the pursuit of pure data. But his contributions were met with polite nods and quick changes of subject. The conversation would simply move on, as if he hadn't spoken at all, leaving him with a quiet, burning sense of irrelevance. It was like being a ghost in his own professional home, present but unseen, his voice unheard. He'd leave those meetings with a hollow ache, the weight of unshared wisdom pressing down on him. One Wednesday, a day that felt no different from any other, he sat at his kitchen table, a half-finished crossword puzzle in front of him, the pen lying still. The crossword, once a joyful challenge, now felt like a cruel reminder of his faltering memory. He realized with a jolt that went deeper than he expected that he hadn't exchanged a single meaningful word with anyone all day. The phone hadn't rung, no emails, no texts. The silence in the apartment, once a welcome companion for his solitary work, was no longer peaceful. It was vast and echoing, a hollow space that seemed to swallow him whole. It wasn't just quiet, it was a presence of absence. He looked at his reflection in the dark window, a man with thinning gray hair and tired eyes, lines etched by years of concentration and quiet sorrow. And a chilling thought whispered through his mind, a thought that felt both foreign and terrifyingly familiar. Am I becoming a ghost? It wasn't a dramatic cry for help, not a sudden breakdown, but a quiet, profound ache, a slow erosion of his sense of self. He still believed in God, of course. That was a bedrock of his existence, a constant in a world of flux. But the vibrant, active faith of his younger years felt distant, like a memory of a bustling market in the middle of a quiet, forgotten alley. He tried to pray, to find the familiar words of comfort, but they felt hollow, bouncing off the ceiling, returning to him unheard. It was as if his prayers were lost in the vastness, like a message in a bottle cast into an endless ocean. He felt a profound loneliness, a sense of being on the sidelines of a life that was still going on, bustling and vibrant, just without him. The world seemed to be moving at a pace he couldn't match, and he was left behind, a quiet observer in his own story, a footnote in a narrative that had once been his. Perhaps that's not exactly your story. Maybe your circumstances are different, your age younger or older, your pain a different shade, a different texture. Perhaps you're a young professional feeling overlooked in a competitive field, or a parent whose children have grown, leaving an unexpected void. Maybe you're navigating a career change or a health challenge that has shifted your identity. But maybe the feeling is familiar. That slow creeping sense of becoming invisible, of being forgotten, of losing your place in the world, or even in the eyes of God. That fear that as your mental sharpness wanes, as your social connections thin, as your physical abilities diminish, so too does your worth, your purpose, your very reason for being. It's a fear that can settle deep in the bones, a quiet dread that can overshadow even the brightest memories, a silent thief of joy. It's the loneliness that comes not from being alone, but from being present and yet invisible, a profound ache that no amount of external noise can fill. In this time together, in this shared space, we're going to walk through a story, a psalm, a reflection, and a prayer. We'll sit with the quiet, unwavering light of this candle, a symbol of God's presence arriving not at the end of the darkness, but right in the middle of it, a gentle beacon in the quiet. We won't pretend to have all the answers because sometimes there aren't any easy ones, but we will hold space for the questions, for the ache, for the fear that sometimes feels too big to name, too personal to share. We will acknowledge the reality of this pain, not to dwell in it, but to find a way through it, together. Arthur at his kitchen table still felt that chill deep in his bones. The crossword was unfinished. The silence was deep, almost suffocating, and the question lingered, unspoken, heavy in the air. What now? Is there still a place for me? He didn't have an answer, only the quiet hum of the refrigerator and the growing shadow of the afternoon. That chill Arthur felt at his kitchen table, that quiet question of am I becoming a ghost? It's a feeling that settles deep, isn't it? It's not just about the physical changes, the hands that tremble or the memory that falters, though those are real and often painful. It's about something far more profound. The sense of losing your place, of the world moving on without you, of the vibrant, contributing person you once were fading into the background. It's the quiet erosion of identity, the fear that your stories, your wisdom, your very presence no longer hold the weight they once did. It's waking up in the morning and feeling a profound emptiness, a quiet dread that another day will pass where you feel unseen, unheard, unneeded. It's the ache of realizing that the people you poured your life into might be too busy to notice you now, or that the community you served has found new hands, new voices to do the work, leaving you on the periphery. It's the unspoken fear that even God in His vastness might have forgotten your name in the quiet, overlooked corners of your life. This isn't a dramatic, sudden crisis. It's often a slow, insidious creep, a gradual fading that leaves you feeling adrift in a world that once felt so familiar. It's the loneliness that comes not from being alone, but from being present and yet invisible. 3,000 years ago, in a world vastly different from ours, someone felt exactly this. They wrestled with these same fears of aging, of abandonment, of losing their significance, and they wrote it down. It's a voice from the Psalms, a voice that knows the texture of this particular kind of loneliness, this fear of being cast aside. It's a voice that doesn't offer easy answers, but instead offers the profound comfort of being understood. Listen to these words from Psalm 139 and let them settle not as an ancient text to be studied, but as a mirror to your own heart, a voice that already knows what you might be feeling. You have searched me, Lord, and you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all my ways. Psalm 139, Hwinbrum 1, chapter 3, Abin V. You have searched me, Lord, and you know me. There's a deep vulnerability in that, isn't there? The vulnerability of feeling exposed, of being known completely, even when you feel like you're fading into the background. The shame of feeling like a burden, of needing help, of not being as capable as you once were. The shame of asking for assistance, for attention, when you've always been the one giving it. It's a prayer not just for deliverance from external judgment, but from the internal shame that whispers you are no longer enough. It's a plea to be seen, to be valued, to be held in dignity, even when the world seems to suggest otherwise, even when your own mind feels like it's betraying you. It's a profound comfort to know that even when you feel utterly forgotten by the world, there is a divine gaze that sees every detail of your existence, every quiet thought, every unspoken fear. This isn't a casual acquaintance. This is intimate, all-encompassing knowledge. It means that even the quietest corners of your soul, the parts you hide even from yourself, are known and understood. Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. Psalm 139, 7-8, NIV. Where can I go from your spirit? Think about that image. When the ground beneath your feet feels shaky, when the familiar landmarks of your life begin to disappear, when the people you counted on are no longer there or no longer able to offer the same support, where do you go? Where do you turn when the world feels too loud, too fast, too indifferent? This isn't just a theological statement about God's omnipresence. It's a cry from the heart for a place of safety, a place of unwavering stability, a place where you can always go, no matter how much changes around you. It's the longing for something steady, something unchanging when everything else feels like shifting sand, like a current pulling you further and further from shore. It's the quiet hope that even when you feel like a small, insignificant cog in a vast, indifferent machine, there is a foundational strength, a divine presence that holds you, that anchors you. It's the assurance that even in your most solitary moments, you are never truly alone, never truly outside the reach of divine care. Even if you try to escape, to hide in the deepest shadows of your despair, God is there. This isn't a threat. It's a promise of inescapable love. If I say, surely the darkness will hide me and the light become night around me, even the darkness will not be dark to you. The night will shine like the day, for darkness is as light to you. Psalm 139:11-12 NIV. Even the darkness will not be dark to you. This is a profound truth for anyone feeling invisible. When you feel lost in the shadows, when your contributions go unnoticed, when your very presence seems to fade, it's easy to believe that you are truly hidden, truly forgotten. But this psalm declares that even in your deepest, most private moments of despair, when you feel utterly obscured, God sees you with perfect clarity. Your invisibility to the world does not equate to invisibility to the divine. The night, which for us symbolizes hiddenness and fear, is as bright as day to God. This means your struggles, your quiet tears, your unspoken fears, they are all illuminated in His sight. You are never truly hidden from His love, never truly lost in the vastness. For you created my inmost being, you knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful, I know that full well. Psalm 139:13-14 NIV. For you created my inmost being, you knit me together in my mother's womb. This is the raw, honest plea at the heart of this psalm, and perhaps at the heart of your own experience. It's the fear of abandonment, of being left behind, of becoming a forgotten story, a faded photograph in an old album. It's the terror that as the body weakens, as the mind perhaps becomes less sharp, the spirit might also be left to fend for itself, alone and vulnerable. It's the quiet dread that the very God you've served, the God you've trusted, the God you've built your life upon, might turn His face away when you need Him most, when you have nothing left to offer but your weakness. This isn't a lack of faith. It's the honest, gut-wrenching cry of a human heart grappling with the deepest fears of aging and vulnerability, a plea for continued connection when all signs point to disconnection. This verse, however, flips the script. It reminds us that our worth is not in what we do or what we can do, but in who we are. A divinely crafted masterpiece, fearfully and wonderfully made. Our value is inherent, woven into our very being from the moment of conception, and it does not diminish with age or circumstance. It is a gift, not an achievement. As you listen to these words, look at the candle. Its flame flickers, small but persistent, a quiet light in the surrounding dimness. It's a reminder that God's presence isn't always a booming voice or a dramatic intervention that sweeps away all your troubles. Sometimes it's just a steady, quiet light, a gentle warmth, present even when nothing is felt, present even when the darkness feels overwhelming. It's there, holding space, just as these ancient words hold space for your deepest fears, your most vulnerable longings. It's a quiet assurance that even in the deepest shadows, there is a light that does not go out. We've heard the raw honesty of the psalmist, that cry, "You have searched me, Lord, and you know me." It's a feeling that resonates deeply when you find yourself in a place where your value seems to diminish with your mental sharpness, or when the world seems to forget the contributions you've made. This psalm, this ancient prayer, doesn't shy away from that fear. Instead, it holds it, gives it voice, and then offers images that can anchor us when we feel adrift, when the currents of life threaten to pull us under. Let's sit with a few of these images, letting them speak to the quiet corners of our own experience, to the places where we feel most vulnerable and most in need of reassurance. The psalmist cries out, "You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all my ways." Familiar with all my ways. What does that bring to mind for you personally? Is it the comfort of being known intimately? Every habit, every routine, every quiet thought? Or is it the unsettling feeling of being seen even when you wish to retreat, to become invisible? When you feel like you're fading, like your voice is no longer heard in the cacophony of modern life, like the world is moving too fast for you to keep up, where do you go for refuge? Do you find yourself withdrawing perhaps from social gatherings, from conversations where you feel overlooked, or where your stories are met with polite but uninterested smiles? This image isn't about escaping the world or denying the reality of your situation, but about finding a place within it that is unshakable, a foundation that remains firm even when everything else feels fluid and uncertain. It suggests that even when your mental acuity falters, when your energy wanes, there is a strength, a stability, a divine presence that you can lean into, a presence that doesn't depend on your performance, your productivity, or your visibility. It's a profound reminder that even when you feel like a small, insignificant detail in a vast archive, there is a foundational strength that holds you, that cradles you, that will not let you be swept away. Then the psalmist says, "If I settle on the far side of the sea, even there your hand will guide me. Your right hand will hold me fast." Psalm 139 NIV. Even there your hand will guide me. Your right hand will hold me fast. This isn't just a place to hide. It's a place of active guidance and protection. When you feel the sting of being ignored, when the fear of abandonment creeps in like a cold shadow, when the loneliness feels like an attack on your spirit, eroding your sense of self-worth, where is your defense? Do you find yourself building walls, perhaps, not of stone but of silence, to protect a heart that feels bruised by neglect, by the casual oversight of others? This image speaks to a deep primal need for security, for protection from the emotional and spiritual assaults that often come with feeling marginalized, with the quiet indignity of being forgotten. It's a powerful counter-image to the feeling of vulnerability that often accompanies aging and the loss of social connection. It suggests that even when you feel exposed and fragile, when the world seems to have forgotten your name, there is a divine protection that surrounds you, a fortress built not of stone, but of unwavering love and steadfast presence. It's a quiet assurance that you are not left to face these battles alone, even when you feel utterly solitary, even when the silence in your home feels overwhelming. This guidance is not about keeping others out, but about keeping you safe and cherished within. And finally, the psalmist pleads, "If I say, surely the darkness will hide me and the light become night around me, even the darkness will not be dark to you. The night will shine like the day, for darkness is as light to you." Psalm 139 morning 11 to 12 NIV. Even the darkness will not be dark to you. This is a profound truth for anyone feeling invisible. When you feel lost in the shadows, when your contributions go unnoticed, when your very presence seems to fade, it's easy to believe that you are truly hidden, truly forgotten. But this psalm declares that even in your deepest, most private moments of despair, when you feel utterly obscured, God sees you with perfect clarity. Your invisibility to the world does not equate to invisibility to the divine. The night, which for us symbolizes hiddenness and fear, is as bright as day to God. This means your struggles, your quiet tears, your unspoken fears, they are all illuminated in His sight. You are never truly hidden from His love, never truly lost in the vastness. This reorientation isn't about denying the pain or pretending it doesn't exist. It's about finding a way to live with the pain, to carry it differently, to understand that even in your most vulnerable state, you are not abandoned. It's about shifting your gaze from what you've lost to what remains, from what the world demands to what God freely gives. It's a journey of quiet resilience, of finding strength not in what you can do, but in who you are in the eyes of your Creator. If this truth about your inherent worth is a light in your own darkness, take a moment to reflect on it. And if you know someone who needs to hear this today, consider sharing this video. Your connection matters. That quiet pause, that moment with the candle, is a reminder that sometimes the most profound truths are found not in grand pronouncements, but in stillness, in the space between words. We've been sitting with the psalmist's honest cry, the fear of being cast away, of becoming invisible. And it's important to acknowledge that this isn't a simple fear that can be wished away with a positive thought or a quick prayer. It's a deep existential ache that touches the very core of our being. There's something I keep coming back to when I think about this kind of pain, this feeling of being forgotten, especially as we age, as our roles change, as the world around us accelerates. It's the descent into the real difficulty of it. I don't know if this will make sense, but sometimes, when you're in this place, prayer can feel like talking to the ceiling. You whisper your fears, your loneliness, your questions into the quiet, into the vastness, and sometimes the quiet just whispers back, an echo of your own voice, or worse, nothing at all. It's not that you stop believing, not that your faith completely vanishes, but the feeling of belief, that vibrant connection, that sense of God's tangible presence can seem to vanish. The fear doesn't just go away because you have faith. In fact, sometimes it feels like faith makes it harder, because you're supposed to be strong, you're supposed to trust, you're supposed to have all the answers, and yet the ache is still there, sharp and persistent, a constant companion. God can seem absent for so long, His silence so profound, that you begin to wonder if He was ever really there, or if He just moved on to tend to the younger, the more vibrant, the more visible parts of His creation, leaving you behind in the shadows. This isn't doubt as a theological position. It's the honest, raw, gut-wrenching experience of a human heart grappling with a silence that feels deafening, a void that feels immense. It's the feeling of being in a spiritual desert where the well of comfort seems to have run dry. And here's the honest tension, the paradox we must hold. I don't have all the answers. No one does. Pain doesn't disappear because faith exists. The valley is real, and sometimes it is very, very long, stretching out before you with no clear end in sight. Your struggle with feeling invisible, with the fear of abandonment, with the profound loneliness that can accompany aging, is not a sign of weak faith. It is, in fact, a sign of profound humanity, of having a heart that longs for connection, for purpose, for being seen and cherished. It's a sign that you are still alive, still feeling, still wrestling with the deepest questions of existence, still seeking meaning in a world that often seems to offer little. To pretend otherwise, to offer platitudes or easy answers, would be to diminish the very real weight you carry, to invalidate the depth of your experience. It would be to offer a stone when you are asking for bread. So if we can't resolve the tension, if we can't promise that things will suddenly get better, or that God will miraculously change your circumstances overnight, what can we do? We can reorient. We can find a way of being inside this difficult situation that does not require the situation to change first. It's about finding a way to remain standing, to remain present, even when the ground feels shaky beneath your feet, even when the world seems to be crumbling around you. It's about understanding that your worth isn't tied to your productivity, your visibility, your social calendar, or even your mental sharpness. It's inherent, an unchangeable truth, given by the one who created you, woven into the very fabric of your being. This worth is not earned. It simply is. Remember Arthur, sitting at his kitchen table, the unfinished crossword, the echoing silence. His situation hasn't changed. The phone still isn't ringing. The world outside is still bustling, still indifferent. But perhaps in the quiet space of acknowledging his fear, of naming his invisibility, of bringing his honest lament to the divine, he begins to find a different way to hold it. Not a way to make it disappear, but a way to stand within it, to find a quiet strength that doesn't depend on external validation. The central image from the psalm, "You have searched me, Lord, and you know me," takes on a new profound layer of meaning here. It's not just a plea for God to not abandon you. It's also an invitation to recognize that you are not abandoning Him in your honest struggle, in your raw questioning, in your moments of doubt. It's a profound act of faith to bring your deepest fears of abandonment to the one you fear might abandon you. It's in that very act of honest lament, of crying out, of laying bare your soul, that the connection is forged anew, or perhaps simply revealed to have been there all along, hidden beneath the layers of expectation and disappointment. It's a recognition that God's presence isn't just for the strong and the vibrant, for the successful and the celebrated, but especially for the weak, the forgotten, the invisible, the broken-hearted. He is present in the very act of your crying out, in the very ache of your heart, in the tears that fall silently. He is present in the vulnerability, in the surrender, in the quiet acceptance of what is. The candle still burns, a quiet, persistent light. It's inside the tunnel with you, not just waiting at the end. It's a testament to a presence that endures, that holds, that sees, even when you feel utterly alone, utterly lost in the vastness. This is not about finding easy answers, but about finding a way to be held in the midst of the questions, to find solace in the very act of seeking. Carrying that quiet understanding from the last block, that sense of reorientation rather than resolution, That deep acknowledgement of the honest tension of faith in difficult times, we come to a place where we can prepare our hearts for prayer. We've named the pain, we've sat with the psalm, we've wrestled with the silence, and we've recognized that sometimes the most profound act of faith is simply to show up, exactly as we are. Now I want to invite you to participate in a prayer. This isn't about performing or finding the right words or even feeling a particular way. It's not about achieving a state of perfect peace or sudden enlightenment. It's simply about showing up just as you are with everything you've brought to this moment. Your weariness, your doubts, your hopes, your fears, your longing to be seen. If it feels right for you, you might place a hand over your heart, a simple, tender gesture of compassion towards yourself, acknowledging the journey you've been on, the burdens you carry. Or perhaps you might close your eyes, allowing yourself to simply listen and be present, to retreat inward from the distractions of the external world. You could also rest your gaze on the candle, letting its steady, gentle flame be an anchor for your thoughts, a quiet focal point in the midst of any internal turbulence. And before we begin, take one slow, deep breath. Let it fill you completely, from the tips of your toes to the crown of your head, and then release it gently, slowly, letting go of any tension, any expectation, any need to be anything other than exactly who you are right now. It's not a coincidence that you ended up watching this video today, at this particular moment in your life. Perhaps in some quiet, mysterious way, God has drawn you here, not to fix you, not to magically erase your pain, but to meet you exactly where you are, in the midst of your struggle, in the heart of your invisibility. He can work with everything you've brought to this moment, the doubt that gnaws at the edges of your faith, the exhaustion that weighs down your spirit, the half-belief that flickers like a dying ember, the anger that simmers beneath the surface, the profound fear of being forgotten, of being cast aside. You don't need to clean yourself up or put on a brave face or pretend to be stronger than you are. You don't need to have all the answers or even feel particularly spiritual. Just bring your honest self, your authentic self, with all its imperfections and vulnerabilities. There's a quiet intimacy in this space we've created together, a grounded hope that doesn't demand anything from you, but simply offers presence, offers companionship. No urgency, no excitement, no pressure to perform, just a gentle invitation to be held, to be seen, to be acknowledged in your deepest being. This is a space where your quiet suffering is honored, where your silent tears are witnessed, where your unspoken prayers are heard. If you're ready, if your heart feels even a small flicker of willingness, let's pray together now. My God, we come before you with hearts that know the ache of feeling unseen, unheard, and profoundly forgotten. We name the deep, often unspoken pain of invisibility in our changing seasons of life, the sting of being marginalized by a world that frequently values youth, speed, and visible strength above all else. We confess the fear that whispers in the quiet moments, telling us we are no longer useful, no longer relevant, no longer worthy of attention or affection. We feel the profound loneliness of empty rooms, the deafening silence of unanswered calls, the subtle dismissals, the polite but uninterested smiles that make us question our very place in this world, our very right to exist meaningfully within it. We bring you the chilling fear of abandonment, the terror that as our mental sharpness wanes, as our social connections thin, so too will the love and care of those around us. And even, God, your own steadfast presence. We lay before you the heavy burden of feeling like a story that's been told too many times, a life that's been lived and is now simply waiting to end, a book closed and put back on the shelf. We don't soften this pain, Lord. We offer it to you in its raw, unvarnished truth, with all its sharp edges and bitter taste. We offer you our honest lament, our cries from the depths. And yet in this very moment, in the midst of this raw honesty, we declare that you are here, not as a distant judge, not as a demanding taskmaster, not as a God who requires us to be strong before he will engage, but as a quiet, steady, unwavering presence. You are here in the gentle flicker of this candle, in the subtle warmth it casts, in the gentle rhythm of our breath, in the unspoken longings of our hearts, in the very act of our reaching out. You are the God who sees the unseen, who hears the unheard, who remembers the forgotten, who cherishes the marginalized. You are present in the ache, in the doubt, in the anger, in the very act of our crying out to you, even when our words are few and faltering. Your presence is not contingent on our strength or our visibility, our productivity or our performance. It is simply true, a foundational reality, a bedrock beneath our feet, even when nothing confirms it to our senses, even when our feelings tell us otherwise. You are the God who dwells with the brokenhearted. So we ask, Lord, for specific tangible things. We ask for the grace to get through the next morning, to find a small spark of purpose in the mundane tasks of the day, to discover a flicker of joy in a simple moment. We ask for a moment of stillness in the middle of the night, a quiet assurance that we are not alone in the darkness, that your light penetrates even the deepest shadows. We ask for the capacity to trust when trust feels unreasonable, when every outward sign suggests otherwise, when our own experience screams of abandonment. Grant us the strength to take one more step, even when we don't know where the path leads, even when our legs are weary, trusting that you are the one who knows our every way, the firm ground that will not give way. Help us to see our own inherent worth, a worth that does not diminish with age or ability, with social status or mental decline, but is rooted in your eternal, unconditional love, a love that saw us before we were formed and will hold us beyond our last breath. And Lord, we echo the ancient desperate prayer. You have searched me, Lord, and you know me. You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all my ways. Hold us close, Lord, when we feel most vulnerable, most afraid, most forgotten. Wrap us in your presence, not to erase the pain, but to sustain us through it. And now, we surrender. We lay down the heavy burden of trying to be seen, of trying to prove our worth, of trying to fight this battle alone, of trying to make sense of the senseless. We surrender not because the weight is gone, not because the pain has vanished, but because carrying it alone is no longer required, no longer sustainable. We lay it at your feet, trusting that you are the one who knows us intimately, who guides us, our unwavering presence in every season of life, in every moment of our fading strength. We trust that you see us, you know us, and you hold us, always. Amen. God heard that prayer. He hears every quiet whisper, every unspoken fear, every honest cry of your heart. When the weight comes back, and it will, because life is often hard, you can return to this video, to these words, to this quiet space. Let it be a reminder that you are not alone, and that your worth is not defined by the world's gaze, by its fleeting attention, or by your diminishing capacities. Your worth is inherent, eternal, and divinely affirmed. And perhaps, in your own way, in your own quiet strength, you can be for someone else the same kind of light this video was for you. A quiet presence, a listening ear, a gentle reminder that they are seen, even when they feel invisible. If this content has resonated with you, If it has offered even a moment of solace or connection, consider subscribing to this channel to stay connected to messages of comfort and hope. And if there's one specific person in your life whose name you already know, someone who is walking through their own valley right now, someone who might be feeling invisible, please share this video with them. Finally, if you feel moved to do so, leave a comment below. Share if you'd like what valley you're walking through, or which psalm you'd want to hear next. Your voice matters here. Your story matters,